Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin by just thanking both of you for your service to our country and to your families. We sometimes forget about the sacrifice they make when you are away, and we most certainly appreciate all of that. And once again, we appreciate what you have done and continue to do for this country. General Cavoli, our missile defense systems protect not just the U.S. homeland, but our deployed forces overseas, for example, in Europe and in the Middle East. Does EUCOM make use of any of the systems which require the use of the 3.1 to 3.45 gigahertz band of the spectrum to fully operate? And I'm just curious, this is something that I've asked every four-star uniformed officer as they've come before us, because there has been an attempt most recently to take away the exclusive use by the Department of Defense for the use of that part of the spectrum and literally to sell it for commercial purposes. Huge amounts of activity with regard to some of the best physics in the world for radar and so forth are found in there. Can you share a little bit about what EUCOM does and whether or not it would impact any of our capabilities in Europe?
Yeah, we sure do use it, Senator. We use it principally in our air and missile defense systems, as you pointed out, which are part of the system that protects the United States homeland from ballistic missile attacks. So more than that, I could go into in classified session, but it is a source that would have to be worked out if we lost access to that bandwidth,
Are you familiar with some of the physics involved and why we picked that particular part for our radars and so forth?
I would never volunteer just how familiar I am with physics, but yes, a little bit.
Okay. Just with regard to that, I mean, there is a reason why that particular part of the spectrum is being so closely protected by the Department of Defense. Is that fair to say?
There is.
Thank you. General Cavoli, also, can you describe how the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as their defense industrial base, have evolved over time, and just a little bit in terms of what you've observed?
Wow, sure, Senator. So in 2014, I was a one-star commanding our training enterprise in Germany and throughout Europe. And in 2015, I was given the task to help to set up a training center in Western Ukraine for the Ukrainians as a response to the invasion and the annexation of Crimea that had taken place in 2014. At the time, they were, a hand-to-mouth army that was tied in a tight fight in their eastern area and had suffered from 30 years of post-Soviet neglect. They were in tough shape. Between then and 2022, they managed, while maintaining a fight in the east, they managed to convert themselves into the force that was able to stop Russia. This came with a number of important decisions from the United States, specifically an increase in aid and the initiation of lethal aid, the donation of javelins. I believe it was in about 2016 or 2017 we gave that. Since then, you know the trajectory, sir. They went from being basically Minutemen with javelins stopping a Russian invasion to being an organized force that is increasingly able to generate force in a reliable and predictable fashion. Very difficult to do, especially on the fly. It's taken a couple of years to get it going. And they've developed a defense industry that is producing many of their own munitions right now. In fact, I would say they're the world leaders in one-way attack drone technology.
Interesting. As you've watched this and observed this, you've watched what Russia has done as well. What would be your assessment of how Russia would react to a conflict between the United States and China?
I think clearly whatever the United States does in the world, Russia will find a way or will look for a way to turn the situation to its advantage and to seize opportunity. So depending on the exact parameters of a conflict with China, exactly what the conditions were, I would expect Russia to try to take advantage of that either in the information domain or even physically.
Would it be fair to say that if we found ourselves in a theater conflict in the Pacific Rim region, highly strong possibility that we'd also find ourselves in a conflict in the European theater as well?
Or other theaters as well, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. General Langley, I did have questions for you, but I will put them in the record. I thank you for your service as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Rand.